Hello, my name is Dominic Howard, and I'm making a video on my teaching philosophy. I've already written a teaching philosophy statement, and it has details about some of my teaching methods and my philosophy and how I'll get my students to learn best. But I decided to take out some of the key points and kind of just talk about them a little bit more in depth from that statement. So the first one I wanted to talk about was the teacher should be focused on more than just distributing the curriculum, but also making sure it is retained and useful to all the students. A lot of teachers might just spew out the curriculum or the lesson plan or lecture at their students with expectations of them learning and retaining it. But that's not how it works. You have to find ways to engage the students enough to where they will remember it, not just remember, but retain and understand the things you're teaching. This becomes difficult because another key point here is everybody learns differently. You can't just group your smart kids, your intermediate kids, or your kids that need help all in one big bubble or umbrella. You have to look at each student individually and look at their needs and their strengths, their weaknesses, and go from there. How I plan on doing that is I'm going to take time to get to know my students, and this is my next point. You can't categorize or know your students by letter grades, good kid, bad kid, student 1, student B. You need to understand them as individuals. Depending on the level you teach, you might need to know a little bit more about them. I plan on teaching at the high school level, so I would like to know how my students will be at this age. They're growing quickly, mentally. They're becoming individuals and they're becoming themselves. So it's a hard time in their lives. And as a teacher, if you neglect that, they're not going through this. You're not going to be a very good teacher, in my opinion. You got to know what works best for them. They have certain challenges in certain areas. I want to know their favorite part of the subject, their least favorite part of the subject, things like that. But not only exactly school-related information, I want to know my students' hobbies, what kind of music they like, what kind of foods or restaurants they like to go to, things of that nature, just to get a little bit more information on your students. It'll never hurt, and I think it will help in the long run if you have a philosophy of treating your students as individuals and as people, not just things that you needed to give information and then your job is done. I don't think a teacher's job ends with following the curriculum, and once you're to that last point, that's not where it ends. You have to go beyond as a teacher. You can't be stagnant. You have to be able to learn about your students, and that'll help. I believe it'll create a strong and trusting teacher-student relationship. It'll allow the students to maybe trust you more and feel like the learning is beneficial to them, as opposed to the teachers just spewing out the information and doesn't give a reason why it's important. Things like that. So those areas I will forever address and hold as my teaching philosophy, because I do believe that's a very, very big part of creating an effective learning environment that's harmonious and everyone feels comfortable to fail and succeed. But by kind of creating a classroom that's not so just lecture or presentation, but more of, hey, we're all going to do this together. I'm going to do my part by helping provide information, but also helping you understand its importance and kind of why it needs to be taught. So these are some points in my in my teaching philosophy statement that I wanted to address that I feel are most important. Again, creating the classroom as kind of a family-oriented or a safe zone where learning is encouraged. Failing isn't frowned upon because failing equals learning if you view it that way. So that's the kind of teacher I want to be, and that's the kind of methods and philosophies I will be using.